Captain Jinwoo Park stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station, watching the stars through the wide windows. It was a quiet morning in space, just like every other morning for the past 6 months. The coffee in his cup was still warm when the first alarm started screaming. "Captain," shouted his communications officer, "we have multiple contacts coming out of hyperspace." Jinwoo set down his coffee and moved to the main screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. Hundreds of massive ships appeared in space around Earth. They were unlike anything humans had ever built. The ships were dark and twisted, covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. "Sir, they're huge," whispered his radar operator. "The largest one is over 50 kilometers long." Jinwoo grabbed his communication device. "This is Captain Park to Earth Command. We have unknown alien vessels in our space. I repeat, we have alien contact." On Earth, Dr. Sumin Lee was in her lab when the emergency sirens began. She was a scientist who studied the possibility of alien life. For years she had wondered what would happen when humans finally met other intelligent beings. Now she was about to find out. Her phone buzzed with an urgent message. All xenobiologists were to report to the Global Defense Center immediately. Sumin grabbed her research files and ran to her car. At Earth Command, Admiral Kyung-Soo Nam was already in the war room when the report started coming in. He was a calm man who had seen many battles, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Admiral," said his aide, "the alien ships are positioning themselves over every major city on Earth. They're also blocking all our space routes." Admiral Nam looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed enemy ships over New York, London, Tokyo, Seoul, and dozens of other cities. Each ship was large enough to destroy a city with ease. "Are they trying to communicate?" he asked. "Not yet, sir. They're just waiting." Then the communication came. Every screen on Earth, every phone, every electronic device suddenly showed the same image. It was an alien face, but not like anything from human movies. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its skin was pale blue and covered in scales. When it spoke, its voice was translated into every human language. "I am Overlord Vextar of the Hegemony Fleet," the alien said. "Your species has been chosen for integration into our empire. You will surrender immediately and completely. Your leaders will come to my flagship to kneel before me. You have one of your Earth hours to comply." The message ended, leaving Earth in shocked silence. President Nayeon Kim was in an emergency meeting with world leaders within minutes. She was young for a president, but she had been elected because people trusted her to make hard decisions. "What are our options?" she asked Admiral Nam. "Honestly, Madam President, we don't have many. Their technology is far beyond ours. Our weapons might not even scratch their ships. And if we surrender?" Dr. Sumin Lee, who had arrived at the command center, spoke up. "Based on their language and behavior, I believe they see us as inferior beings. If we surrender, we'll likely become slaves or worse." President Kim stood silent for a moment. Outside the windows, they could see one of the alien ships hovering over the capital city. It blocked out the sun like a dark cloud. "Send them our response," she said finally. The communication went out to Overlord Vextar on all frequencies. President Kim stood before the camera, her voice steady and clear. "To the Hegemony Fleet. I am President Nayeon Kim, speaking for the people of Earth. We reject your demand for surrender. Humanity has never knelt to tyrants, and we will not start today. If you want our world, you'll have to take it." The response came quickly. Bright beams of energy shot down from the alien ships. The first target was Earth's orbital defense platforms. Captain Jinwoo Park watched in horror as stations exploded around him. "All hands abandon ship," he ordered as his own station began to shake apart. On Earth, the attacks began within minutes. But the aliens didn't destroy the cities. Instead, they used strange weapons that made humans fall asleep. Entire city blocks went quiet as people collapsed where they stood. "They want us alive," Dr. Sumin Lee realized. "This isn't a war of destruction. It's a capture operation." The next 72 hours were chaos. Alien ground forces landed in major cities. They were different from Overlord Vextar. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking lizards, and some were so strange that humans had no words to describe them. The aliens moved through the cities, setting up control centers and capturing government officials. Most human weapons did nothing against their advanced armor. Earth's armies fought bravely, but they were fighting with guns against beings who traveled between stars. President Kim and her government were forced to evacuate the capital. Admiral Nam organized a fighting retreat, but it was clear they were losing. "We need to go underground," Captain Jinwoo Park said. He had survived the destruction of his station and made it back to Earth. If we can't fight them in the open, we fight them in the dark. Dr. Sumin Lee had an important discovery. She had been studying recordings of alien communications and found something interesting. They're not one species, she told the evacuation group. The hegemony is made up of many different alien races, and some of them don't seem happy about being here. As the government retreated to hidden bunkers, ordinary people began to disappear into sewers, forests, and abandoned buildings. The aliens controlled the cities, but they didn't understand human determination. Overlord Vextar sent another message to any human still listening. Your resistance is over. Your leaders have fled like cowards. Report to processing centers for assignment to work duties. Those who resist will be punished. But in the darkness beneath the cities, Captain Jinwoo Park was organizing something the aliens didn't expect. He gathered scientists, soldiers, and civilians who refused to give up. They think we're beaten, he told the group. They think humans are weak because we don't have their technology. They're about to learn they're wrong. The alien occupation had begun, but so had human resistance, and humanity was about to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. 6 months had passed since the aliens took control of Earth's surface. Colonel Wu Jin Choi crawled through a maintenance tunnel beneath the ruins of Seoul. Above him, alien patrol ships flew regular routes, their sensors scanning for signs of human resistance. Wu Jin had been a military engineer before the invasion. Now he was something new. A tunnel rat fighting a war the aliens didn't even know was happening. Behind him, 12 other humans carried supplies through the narrow passage. "Contact ahead," whispered the scout. They all froze in the darkness. Through his night vision goggles, Wu Jin saw 2 alien soldiers walking through the tunnel intersection. They were tall creatures that looked like walking beetles with 4 arms and chitinous armor. The aliens were talking in their clicking language, completely unaware that humans were watching them. Wu Jin waited until they passed, then led his team deeper into the underground maze. After 2 hours of careful movement, they reached their destination, a hidden chamber that had once been a subway station. The resistance had transformed the old station into a command center. Dozens of humans worked at computer terminals powered by hidden generators. Maps covered the walls showing tunnel systems, alien patrol routes, and resistance safe houses. "Wu Jin," called a voice. Yoonji Song ran over to greet him. She had been a communications specialist in the South Korean military. Now she coordinated messages between resistance cells around the world. "What's the status report?" Wu Jin asked. "Good news and bad news," Yoonji said. "The good news is we've established contact with resistance groups on every continent. The bad news is the aliens are getting smarter about hunting us." She led him to a large screen showing a world map. Red dots marked known alien positions, while blue dots showed resistance strongholds. "They're learning our patterns," she explained. "Last week they found the London underground base. 60 people captured." Wu Jin studied the map. "What about new recruitment?" "That's where we have better news. A young man named Taehyun Lim has been causing major problems for alien computer systems. He's managed to hack into their local networks." At a computer terminal across the room, Taehyun Lim was working his magic. Before the invasion, he had been a university student studying computer science. Now he was humanity's best weapon against alien technology. "Look at this," Taehyun said excitedly as Wu Jin and Yoonji approached. "I've been studying their communication protocols. The aliens rely completely on artificial intelligence for most of their operations." On his screen, he showed streams of alien data flowing through their networks. "They're incredibly advanced, but they've become lazy. They let machines do all their thinking." "Watch this." Taehyun typed commands into his computer. Suddenly, several alien patrol drones on the surface began flying in circles. "I've confused their navigation system," he grinned. "Their drones are now following fake GPS signals I created." Dr. Sumin Lee arrived at the command center with important news. She had been studying captured alien equipment and had made a crucial discovery. "I've learned something significant about our enemies," she announced to the gathered resistance leaders. "The hegemony isn't as united as they want us to believe." She activated a holographic display showing different alien species. "I've identified 12 different races in their forces. But here's the interesting part. Several of them show signs of being forced participants rather than willing allies." "What do you mean?" asked Wu Jin. "I intercepted communications between different alien units. Some species are treated better than others. The insect-like creatures we call chitons seem to be at the bottom of their hierarchy. They're basically slaves with weapons. This information changed everything. The Resistance had assumed they were fighting a unified enemy. Learning that the alien alliance had cracks opened new possibilities. Captain Jinwoo Park entered the command center with a team of fighters returning from a surface mission. They carried alien weapons and equipment scavenged from a successful raid. "How did it go?" Yoonji asked. "Better than expected," Jinwoo replied. "We hit their supply depot outside Busan. But here's the strange part. Some of the alien guards didn't fight very hard. A few of the Titan soldiers actually seemed to let us escape." Dr. Suman Lee nodded. "That confirms my theory. Not all of them want to be here." The Resistance had been learning and adapting. In the early days, they had tried to fight the aliens with conventional weapons. That had been a disaster. Human bullets barely scratched alien armor, but humans were creative. They learned to use the aliens' own technology against them. Captured energy weapons were reverse-engineered in hidden workshops. Human engineers modified alien equipment to work with human hands and human tactics. More importantly, they learned to think like guerrilla fighters. They attacked supply lines instead of armies. They sabotaged equipment instead of fighting battles. They made the aliens afraid to leave their safe zones. "We have a new mission," announced Admiral Kyung-Soo Nam, who had arrived for the weekly command meeting. He had been thought dead for months, but had actually been organizing resistance cells in the Pacific region. "Intelligence suggests the aliens are planning to move large numbers of human prisoners to off-world processing centers. We can't let that happen. The mission would be their most ambitious yet. Multiple resistance cells would coordinate simultaneous attacks on alien transport facilities. The goal wasn't just to free prisoners, but to send a message that humanity wouldn't be quietly conquered." Tae-hyun Lim had prepared special surprises for the alien computer systems. "I've created a virus that will spread through their networks," he explained. "When we attack, their communications and coordination systems will go down." As the Resistance prepared for their coordinated strike, they received an unexpected message. It came through alien communication channels, but it wasn't from Overlord Vextar. The message was from a Chiton named Krixtal. He was one of the insect-like aliens speaking in broken human language. "Human fighters, we see your strength. Some of us wish freedom too. Hegemony makes us slaves like you. Maybe we help each other." The Resistance leaders looked at each other in amazement. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were potentially inspiring rebellion throughout the alien empire. The coordinated attack began at midnight, Earth time. In 12 cities around the world, Resistance fighters struck alien facilities simultaneously. Taehyun's virus spread through alien networks, causing chaos in their communications. For the first time since the invasion, human fighters achieved major victories. Transport ships were destroyed before they could leave Earth's atmosphere. Hundreds of human prisoners were freed. Most importantly, alien forces suffered their first significant casualties. But the greatest victory wasn't military. During the battle in Cairo, a group of Chiton soldiers openly refused orders to fire on human civilians. Instead, they turned their weapons on their hegemony commanders. The rebellion was spreading. In his flagship above Earth, Overlord Vextar received reports of the attacks with growing anger. These humans were supposed to be primitive creatures, easy to control. Instead, they were proving to be the most difficult conquest in hegemony history. Worse, their resistance was inspiring other species to question hegemony authority. This was something the hegemony couldn't allow to spread. "Send word to the council," Vextar ordered his aide. "Request additional fleets and authorization for more aggressive suppression methods." But in the tunnels beneath Earth's cities, the resistance was growing stronger every day. They had learned the aliens' greatest weakness, their dependence on technology and their belief that all species would eventually submit. Humanity was proving them wrong, one tunnel at a time. 1 year after the invasion, General Hyunwoo Kang stood in what had once been a corporate boardroom. Now it served as the strategic command center for the global human resistance. Before the aliens came, Hyunwoo had been the CEO of a major technology company. The invasion had turned him into something he never expected to be, a military leader. The room was filled with representatives from resistance cells around the world. Some attended in person, others appeared as holograms transmitted through the secret communication network that Tae-hyun Lim had built using captured alien technology. "Status report from all sectors," Hyunwoo announced. Colonel Woo Jin Choi spoke first. Asian resistance cells have successfully established a continuous tunnel network from Seoul to Tokyo. We can move supplies and personnel across 1,200 kilometers without surfacing, Yoon Ji-song reported next. Global communications are at 90% efficiency. We've also intercepted alien communications suggesting they're having supply problems. Earth is taking longer to pacify than they planned. But the most important news came from Dr. Min Ji-yoon, a physicist who had been working in a hidden laboratory beneath the ruins of MIT. She had been reverse engineering alien technology with remarkable success. "I have something that will change everything," Minji announced. She activated a holographic display showing complex alien devices. "I've successfully reverse engineered their faster-than-light communication system. Not only can we now communicate instantly across interstellar distances, but I've also discovered how to intercept and decode hegemony military communications." The room fell silent. This was the breakthrough they had been hoping for. "There's more," Minji continued. "I've been analyzing alien technology for months. Their equipment is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly standardized. Every device follows the same basic principles. Once you understand one alien machine, you can understand them all." Sergeant Dongyun Jiang raised his hand. He led the Resistance's most elite strike team, specializing in capturing alien technology and personnel. "My team took down an alien command post last week. We captured their local commander and several data cores. What we learned is very interesting." Dongyun activated his own display, showing star maps and military reports. "The hegemony is spread across over 300 star systems. But here's the key: they've never faced a resistance like ours. Every other species they conquered either surrendered immediately or was completely destroyed. They have no experience with long-term guerrilla warfare." This information was crucial. The aliens were fighting a type of war they didn't understand, using tactics designed for quick conquests against enemies who followed predictable patterns. "We're doing something they've never seen before," Dr. Suman Lee added. She had been studying alien behavior and psychology. "Their military doctrine assumes that any species capable of spaceflight will fight like they do, with large fleets and formal battles. They can't comprehend how we're fighting them." The resistance had indeed become something unique. Human creativity and adaptability had combined with captured alien technology to create new forms of warfare. They built weapons that the aliens couldn't predict because they combined human innovation with alien science. Tai-Hyun Lim demonstrated one of his latest creations. "I call it a chaos virus," he said, showing a small device. "When planted in an alien computer system, it doesn't just shut things down. It makes their machines behave randomly. Their own equipment starts working against them." But the biggest surprise came when they tested Minji's new communication system. The first interstellar message they sent was to the 3 human colonies that had been established before the invasion. The response they received was not what anyone expected. "Earth resistance. This is Admiral Kyung-Soo Nam speaking from the Proxima colony." Everyone in the room gasped. Admiral Nam was supposed to be on Earth, coordinating Pacific resistance operations. "I've been working with our colonial fleets for the past 6 months. His voice continued through the alien communication device. "We've been preparing for exactly this moment." The holographic display showed Admiral Nam's face, transmitted from a starship 4 light-years away. "The colonies weren't conquered," he explained. "When the hegemony fleet attacked Earth, we went into hiding. We've been building ships and weapons using the same reverse engineering techniques you've developed. We're ready to bring the fight to the aliens." This changed everything. The resistance wasn't just fighting for Earth anymore. They had allies in space and access to resources the aliens didn't know existed. Dr. Min Ji-yoon had more revelations. "While studying alien technology, I discovered something important about the hegemony itself. They're not as advanced as they appear. They're using very old technology, just scaled up massively." She showed detailed scans of alien devices. Their civilization reached a technological plateau thousands of years ago. They stopped innovating. They just make bigger versions of the same old machines. But we humans are still developing, still changing, still creating new solutions. This explained why human adaptations of alien technology often worked better than the original devices. Humans were improving on designs that aliens had been using unchanged for millennia. Sergeant Dongyun Jiang reported on his latest mission. "My team infiltrated an alien data center. We discovered that the hegemony controls over 40 different species, but only 12 are willing participants. The rest are conquered peoples just like they want us to be. The data they had stolen revealed something amazing. Several alien species within the hegemony were already showing signs of rebellion. The Chitons weren't the only ones questioning their masters. There's a species called the Viridians, Dongyun continued. They're plant-like beings with incredible biotechnology. According to these files, they've been sabotaging hegemony equipment for decades. They're just better at hiding it than we are. General Hyunwoo Kang saw the opportunity immediately. Can we contact them? Already working on it, Taehyun Lim replied. I'm adapting our communication system to reach their networks. As if summoned by their conversation, an alarm sounded throughout the command center. But this wasn't a warning of alien attack. It was the signal they had been waiting for. Earth resistance, this is the Terran colonial fleet, Admiral Nam's voice announced. We are beginning our approach to Earth. Prepare for coordinated operations. Through hidden cameras on the surface, they watched something beautiful. Human starships built in secret shipyards around distant stars dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth. They weren't large or impressive like alien vessels, but they were unmistakably human in design. The ships immediately began attacking alien supply lines and isolated outposts. But more importantly, they proved to the hegemony that humanity was far more than a primitive planet-bound species. Overlord Vextar received the news with growing concern. His reports to the Hegemony Council had become increasingly difficult to write. What should have been a simple conquest was turning into the longest military campaign in recent hegemony history. Worse, his intelligence reports suggested that human resistance was inspiring rebellion among other hegemony subject species. This was exactly the kind of problem the hegemony was designed to prevent. In the hidden command center, General Hyunwoo Kang addressed the global resistance leadership. We've learned something important, he said. The aliens expected us to behave like every other species they've conquered. They expected us to fight like them, think like them, or give up like them. But we're doing something they've never encountered. Dr. Suman Lee nodded. We're showing them that there are different ways to be intelligent, different ways to fight, different ways to survive. And we're teaching other species that resistance is possible. The resistance had evolved from a desperate survival effort into something much larger. They were becoming the spark that could ignite rebellion throughout the galaxy. Taehyun Lim looked up from his computer with a huge grin. I just received a message from the Viridians. They want to coordinate resistance activities. And there's more. 3 other species want to join us. The hegemony had made a crucial mistake. By attacking humanity, they had awakened something they didn't understand. They had assumed that all intelligent species would eventually accept domination, but humans had a different idea about what it meant to be free. 18 months after the invasion, Ambassador Ji Yunshin sat in a meeting room that would have been impossible to imagine before the war. Around the table sat representatives from 5 different alien species, all united in rebellion against the hegemony. Ji Yon had been South Korea's ambassador to the United Nations before the invasion. Now she was humanity's first interstellar diplomat, negotiating alliances that could reshape the galaxy. The Viridian bioships are ready for the next phase, said Silthar, a plant-like alien whose voice sounded like wind through leaves. Our living vessels can grow and adapt faster than the hegemony can build new ships. Across from her sat Krixtal, the chiton who had first contacted the human resistance. His insect-like features had seemed terrifying when humans first encountered his species. Now he was a trusted ally. Chiton mining operations provide resources, he clicked in his improved human speech. Many chiton colonies ready to stop sending materials to hegemony fleets. The newest member of their alliance was truly remarkable. Senna represented the ethereals, beings of pure energy who could inhabit and control electronic systems. Before joining the rebellion, they had been forced to power hegemony technology. We have infiltrated 17 hegemony command ships, Zenar communicated through a special device. When you give the signal, we can disable their systems from within. Jiyon looked at the tactical display showing the current state of the galaxy. What had begun as Earth's resistance had grown into the largest rebellion in hegemony history. Red zones marked areas of active fighting, while blue zones showed systems that had joined the Terran alliance. How many systems are we looking at? She asked. 47 star systems have openly declared independence from the hegemony, replied Captain Seokjin Moon via hologram from his ship. Another 20 are providing secret support. Captain Moon commanded the first warship designed jointly by humans and their alien allies. The ship combined human adaptability, Viridian biotechnology, chitin durability, and ethereal energy systems. It was smaller than hegemony dreadnoughts, but far more innovative. The rebellion had discovered something the hegemony had forgotten. Cooperation made everyone stronger. Each species contributed their unique abilities, creating combined technologies that were superior to anything the hegemony possessed. Yerin Cho, the Alliance's intelligence coordinator, had disturbing news from the front lines. Hegemony forces are becoming desperate, she reported. They're pulling ships from border defense to reinforce their core systems. This suggests they're genuinely worried about losing control. But the most significant development was happening at Earth itself. The planet had been under siege for over a year, but that was about to change. Admiral Kyung-Soo Nam's colonial fleet had grown to over 300 ships. More importantly, they had been joined by rebel vessels from a dozen different species. The combined fleet was approaching Earth for the largest battle of the war. All units, this is Admiral Nam. His voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. Today we break the siege of humanity's homeworld. But remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the freedom of every species in this galaxy. The battle began at the edge of Earth's solar system. Hegemony picket ships detected the approaching fleet and sent warnings to Overlord Vextar's command vessel orbiting Earth. Vextar had received increasingly urgent messages from the Hegemony Council. The rebellion was spreading faster than their forces could contain it. Some council members were suggesting that Earth should be destroyed completely to prevent further contamination of their empire. But Vextar had a personal stake in this war now. These humans had made him look foolish in front of the entire hegemony. He would not retreat until they were completely crushed. All ships prepare for battle, he ordered. Show these primitives the true power of the hegemony. The space battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. Traditional hegemony tactics involved massive ships firing overwhelming firepower at static targets. But the Terran Alliance fleet fought like a school of fish, constantly moving, adapting, and supporting each other. Human ships used their speed and maneuverability to confuse hegemony targeting systems. Viridian bioships could repair damage by growing new parts during combat. Chitin vessels were nearly indestructible, while ethereal-controlled ships could predict enemy movements by analyzing their computer systems. Captain Seokjin Moon led a squadron of Alliance fighters through the hegemony formation. His ship, the Unity, demonstrated the new style of warfare that was emerging from the rebellion. "Xenar, can you disable that dreadnought's weapons?" he asked his ethereal partner. Already inside their systems, came the reply. Their own guns will fire on their escort ships in 3, 2, 1. The massive hegemony ship suddenly turned its weapons on its own allies, confusion spreading through their formation. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, the global resistance launched coordinated attacks on every alien installation simultaneously. Colonel Wu Jin Choi led tunnel fighters up from the underground, striking alien ground forces from unexpected directions. "This is it," he told his fighters. "Everything we've worked for comes down to today." The surface battles were fierce but brief. After 18 months of hiding underground, the resistance had learned every weakness in alien defenses. More importantly, many of the alien ground troops were species that secretly supported the rebellion. Dr. Minji Yoon's greatest invention proved crucial in the battle. She had developed a weapon that could disable alien technology without destroying it. This allowed human fighters to capture enemy equipment intact, turning the aliens' own weapons against them. The turning point came when ethereal agents successfully infiltrated Overlord Vextar's flagship. Suddenly, the command ship systems began failing one by one. "Sir, we're losing power to weapons and shields," reported Vextar's aide. "Impossible. Our systems are secure." "Not from beings who live inside computers," Captain Moon said as his ship appeared on Vextar's main screen. "Surrender now and your crew will be treated with honor." Vextar's response was to order a desperate attack on Earth itself. But when he gave the command to fire on the planet, nothing happened. The Ethereals had taken control of his ship completely. "Security teams to the command deck," Vextar ordered, but it was too late. Human Marines, led by Sergeant Donghyun Jang, were already boarding the ship. They had learned to fight in the tight spaces of alien vessels, using captured technology and guerrilla tactics. Overlord Vextar, Sergeant Jang said as he entered the command deck with his team. You're under arrest for crimes against humanity and multiple other species. The capture of the hegemony's supreme commander sent shockwaves throughout their empire. For the first time in their history, a hegemony overlord had been defeated and captured by the species he was supposed to conquer. The siege of Earth was broken, but the war was far from over. News of the victory spread through hegemony space faster than their sensors could suppress it. On dozens of worlds, subject species rose in open rebellion. Dr. Suman Lee had been studying captured hegemony records and made a startling discovery. The hegemony's power structure is more fragile than we thought, she reported to the Alliance leadership. They rule through fear and the assumption that resistance is impossible. But we've proven resistance can succeed. Ambassador Jian Shin received a flood of communications from species wanting to join the Terran Alliance. The rebellion was becoming a revolution that threatened the very foundations of hegemony power. How many new members are we looking at? Asked General Hyunwoo Kang. 15 species have formally requested Alliance membership, Jian replied. But more importantly, 6 species that are core members of the hegemony are showing signs of internal rebellion. The Hegemony Council faced an unprecedented crisis. Their 1,000-year-old empire was fragmenting, and it had all started with one small planet's refusal to surrender. In his cell aboard Captain Moon's ship, Overlord Vextar finally understood what the hegemony had awakened. These humans didn't just fight for survival. They fought for an idea, that all intelligent beings deserved freedom, and that idea was more dangerous to the hegemony than any weapon. Taehyun Lim intercepted a desperate communication from the hegemony. Counsel to their remaining fleets, they're recalling all ships to defend their core systems, he announced. The hegemony is abandoning the outer territories to protect their home worlds. The revolution had reached a point where the oppressors were afraid of the oppressed. The galaxy was changing and there was no going back. 3 years after first contact, President Naeon Kim stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Harmony. Around her, beings from 23 different species worked together at control stations. What had once seemed impossible was now reality, a truly galactic alliance based on cooperation rather than conquest. The ship itself was a symbol of what the alliance had achieved. Human engineering, Feridian biotechnology, chitin metallurgy, and ethereal energy systems had been combined to create something that surpassed anything the hegemony had ever built. Status report from all fleet commanders, President Kim requested. Fleet Admiral Jin-Woo Park appeared on the main screen, transmitted from his command ship in the advance fleet. Alliance forces are in position around the hegemony capital system. We have over 800 ships from 19 species ready for the final operation. The numbers were impressive, but they told only part of the story. The Alliance fleet was outnumbered 3-1 by remaining hegemony forces. The difference was that Alliance ships fought with unified purpose, while hegemony ships were crewed by increasingly reluctant soldiers. Dr. Suman Lee, now the Alliance's chief science officer, reported on their latest intelligence. Hegemony morale is at its lowest point in recorded history. Our agents report that 6 more species are preparing to switch sides during the battle. The plan for the final assault was unlike any military operation in galactic history. Instead of trying to destroy the hegemony capital, the Alliance intended to liberate it. They would offer every being in the system a choice: continue serving the hegemony or join the Alliance as equals. Remember, President Kim addressed the fleet, we are not conquerors. We are liberators. Our goal is not revenge, but freedom for all intelligent life. In the deepest bunkers of the hegemony homeworld, the Council of 12 sat in emergency session. These ancient beings had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years, but their empire was crumbling around them. The outer rim is completely lost, reported the military coordinator. 47 systems have declared independence. 17 more are in open rebellion. Councillor Thrakhan, eldest of the hegemony leaders, spoke with the weight of centuries. How did we lose control so completely? They are only one small species. They are unlike any species we have encountered, replied the intelligence coordinator. They do not seek to replace us as rulers. They seek to eliminate the concept of rulers entirely. This was the fundamental difference that the hegemony had never understood. Every previous conflict had been about who would rule whom. But humans introduced a different idea, that no one needed to rule anyone else. The Alliance fleet began its approach to the capital system, but before any shots were fired, something unprecedented happened. Taehyun Lim, now the Alliance's chief technology officer, activated a galaxy-wide communication system. Every screen, every communication device, every electronic system in hegemony space suddenly carried the same message. It was President Kim, speaking to every intelligent being in the galaxy. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, "you have been told that the hegemony protects you, that without their rule, there would be chaos. But we offer you proof that this is false." The broadcast showed images from Alliance worlds, dozens of species living and working together without any supreme rulers. Cities where different aliens collaborated freely, ships crewed by beings who had once been enemies but were now friends. "We do not ask you to serve new masters," President Kim continued. "We ask you to join us as equals in building a galaxy where every species can determine its own destiny." The effect was immediate. On ships throughout the hegemony fleet, crews began questioning their orders. On planets across the Empire, populations demanded to know why they couldn't have the freedom they saw in the broadcast. But the Hegemony Council was not ready to surrender their power. They ordered their remaining loyal fleets to attack the Alliance forces approaching their capital. The final battle of the Galactic War began in the space around 3 moons orbiting the Hegemony homeworld. But it was a battle unlike any in history, because it was fought as much with ideas as with weapons. As Hegemony ships engaged the Alliance fleet, Alliance agents were busy inside Hegemony computer systems. Ethereal beings had infiltrated every major Hegemony vessel. While Taehyun Lim's electronic warfare techniques disrupted their communications, Captain Seokjin Moon led a squadron of hybrid ships against a Hegemony dreadnought. But instead of simply attacking, his ships broadcast continuous messages to the enemy crew. "Crew of the Dominator, you are fighting for beings who see you as expendable tools. Join us and fight for your own freedom instead." The response surprised everyone, including the Alliance commanders. The Hegemony ship's weapons powered down and its captain sent a message. "This is Captain Veltar of the former Hegemony vessel Dominator. We request permission to join the Alliance fleet." Similar scenes played out across the battlefield. Entire Hegemony ships switched sides in the middle of combat. Others simply stopped fighting and declared neutrality. Dr. Min Ji-yoon's final innovation proved crucial to the battle's outcome. She had developed a device that could interface directly with Hegemony command systems, allowing Alliance forces to demonstrate their technological superiority without destroying enemy ships. "Their weapons are powerful, but predictable," she explained over the fleet communication system. "Our adaptive systems can counter any attack they make, while preserving both fleets intact." Sergeant Donghyun Jang led elite teams in boarding actions against key Hegemony vessels. But these weren't traditional military assaults. The boarding teams included diplomats, scientists, and former Hegemony citizens who could explain the Alliance's true intentions. "We're not here to conquer your ship," Donghyun told surprised Hegemony crews. "We're here to offer you a choice." The turning point came when the Alliance fleet reached the Hegemony homeworld itself. Instead of bombarding the planet, they established orbital communication relays and began broadcasting directly to the population. Hyerin Cho coordinated the information campaign from the Harmony's Intelligence Center. "We're receiving responses from the surface," she reported. "Civilian populations in 17 major cities are demanding that their governments negotiate with us." The Hegemony Council found themselves facing something they had never encountered, their own people demanding change. Ambassador Jian Shin led a diplomatic mission to the surface of the Hegemony capital. She was accompanied by representatives from every Alliance species, demonstrating the diversity and cooperation that the Alliance represented. "We come not as conquerors, but as neighbors," she told the Hegemony Council when they finally agreed to meet. "We offer you the same choice we offer everyone. Join us as equals, or go your own way in peace." Counselor Thrakhan looked at the diverse group before him. "What guarantee do we have that you will not simply become new oppressors?" President Kim, participating via hologram from her ship, answered directly. "The same guarantee that any species has, the right to leave if they choose. The Alliance exists only so long as its members freely choose to participate." It was a concept the Hegemony leaders couldn't initially understand. Power that was voluntarily shared rather than forcibly taken. Government by consent rather than control. But the proof was all around them. Alliance species weren't forced to follow human orders. Instead, they made decisions together, combining their different strengths and perspectives. Overlord Vexstar, who had been held as a prisoner of war, was brought before the council. His time in Alliance custody had changed his perspective dramatically. They are not like us, he told his former colleagues. They do not seek to rule others. They seek to help others rule themselves. I have seen their worlds. Beings who were once enemies now work together by choice. The final surrender of the hegemony came not through military defeat, but through the recognition that their way of governing had become obsolete. One by one, hegemony worlds chose to either join the alliance or declare independence. Dr. Suman Lee made a final analysis of what had happened. The hegemony fell because it was based on fear and force. The alliance succeeds because it's based on hope and choice. The transformation of the galaxy took months rather than years. Without the hegemony's oppressive control, species that had been enemies for millennia discovered they could cooperate and prosper together. Taehyun Lim established the Galactic Communication Network, allowing instant communication between any worlds that chose to participate. Unlike the hegemony's control systems, the network was open and transparent. Colonel Woojin Choi led engineering teams that helped former hegemony worlds rebuild their infrastructure based on cooperation rather than exploitation. The tunnel fighting techniques he had developed on Earth proved useful for peaceful construction projects. A year later, President Kim stood before the First Galactic Assembly. Representatives from over 200 species gathered to discuss common concerns and shared opportunities. 3 years ago, humanity faced extinction, she said. Today we stand with friends from across the galaxy, free to determine our own destinies. This is not the end of our story. It is the beginning. But perhaps the most important moment came when Overlord Vexstar requested to speak before the assembly. I was taught that the strong must rule the weak, he said. But these